Okay. So maybe Tsubaki-san, please.
Hello, my name is Tsubaki Fukuda. I spent my January to writing my graduation thesis. I major in art theory, so I wrote my graduation thesis on aesthetics. In some course, there are seminars that students research and discuss about same topic with other classmates. However, my course, there are no seminar, so I have to research all on my own. So it is very difficult for me. My graduation thesis title is Aesthetic Consideration of Contemporary Tourism, but there are a little previous research on tourism aesthetics. So I also referred to previous research in sociology. Most students in final grades spend time on job hunting and writing their graduation thesis for final year to study. Therefore, I decided to my topic of thesis in the by the end of third year and read reference books by the end of by the fall of my fourth grade. So I have to write thesis in this winter. It is very hard to me, but as a result, I was able to submit my graduation thesis, so I'm so happy now. Thank you.
Thank you, Tsubaki. Congratulations, on the submission of your paper dissertation. Okay. So how about the Kenyan students who wants to talk about yourself? Anna, please.
Good afternoon, dear professors and dear students. My name is Anna Bida. I am the third-year student of PNPU on specialty journalism. After studying, I will work in local online media in Poltava. My Christmas holidays I spent with my family. We decorated Christmas tree together, watched movies, and before the New Year, I played with my friends in Secret Santa when we share the gifts each other and spent time together very well.
Thank you, Anna. I hope you had a good winter vacation. Okay, so now we will start the seminar. So now let me ask the professors deliver opening remarks. Olga Nikolaevna.
Thank you so much, dear Professor Nanaka, dear Professor Lydia Vasilyevna, dear participants. Today we have the fifth seminar in this winter session, where students will demonstrate their presentations. I think it will be very interesting because the students have chosen very important topics from the literature of the 18th, 19th, and 20th centuries. I would like to wish you successful presentations and active discussions. Please be free in your opinions and thoughts. And don't forget to organize your presentations after the seminars in the form of articles for our annual collection. We will also ask you to express your opinions about our seminars in the questionnaire, but this will be later after the seminars are over. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Olga Nikolaevna, for a detailed explanation. Yeah, thank you. So, Lydia Vasilievna, Lydia, please.
Шановні колеги, доброго ранку.
Dear colleagues, good morning.
Наші семінари цього року тривають надзвичайно творчо, надзвичайно продуктивно. І важливо є те, що студенти показують свої дослідницькі навики, показують вміння працювати з літературним текстом.
Yes, this seminar this year are conducted in a very creative and productive way, and it's really important that our students show their research skills and they show how they can work with literary texts.
І крім того, студенти засвідчують надзвичайно високу майстерність комунікативну, гарне спілкування, науковий текст, і залишається побажати лише успіхів у здійсненні наших намірів співпрацювати двома країнами, трьома університетами.
And despite that, also students showed just incredible high master of communication, and this communication with each other, and also showing literary and scholarly text. And I just want to wish you just good luck and just wish you the best for our cooperation with two countries, and good luck and thank you.
Thank you very much, Lydia Vasilievna. Yeah, I think you are right. The reading literature and the humanities are a very good way to communicate with international colleagues, students, right? Okay, so now we have 4 presenters and the 2 from Saitama. So I am very expect students to give good presentations. Okay, so the first presenter is Hana Yara. Hana-san, about Lindgren. Yeah, so please be ready. Yeah, 声聞こえてるはずだと思う。
Can you hear my voice? My name is Hana from Saitama University, and my presentation title is The Difference Between the Impression as a Child Now After Reading Lindgren's Books. And I'll start my presentation now. First, do you have a favorite book from your childhood? I love the books where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak and The Rainy Bookstore by Ryoko Hinata. As children, many of us had a strong longing for fantastic worlds and unusual adventures. Picture books and children's literatures are among the easiest tools to immerse oneself in such worldviews. These books provide an opportunity for children to enjoy dreamlike adventures away from the real world. Some of these books allow them to openly enjoy the stories with the pure perspective that only a child can have. And when they read these books again after growing up, they will discover deeper messages and themes that they did not notice as a child. By reading them as adults, we can be exposed to the lessons and the life truth hidden in the stories and be touched and moved in other ways than we were as children. These books provide a valuable reading experience that is not only entertaining but also offers new perspectives on various aspects of life. Many of the works Astrid Lindgren, the author of the book that is the subject of this presentation, also offer a unique reading experience. Not only do her works provide dreams and adventures for children, but they can also be read again as adults, bringing new discoveries and emotions. This is why Lindgren's books continue to be loved by generations to come. First, I will introduce Astrid Lindgren and her books. She was born on November 14, 1907 in Vimmerby, southeastern Sweden, the eldest of 4 siblings. She is famous for a series of Pippi Longstocking that is about bright and joyful daily life of children. Lindgren is an advocate for children's and animal rights, and the book Absolutely No Violence, a book that summarized the speech she gave in 1978 at the award ceremony for the German Bookstores Association's Peace Prize. In this speech, she spoke out against corporal punishment at a time when violence was being used to discipline children. She emphasized that children themselves have their own will and that adults should allow them to do so and take a stand against forcing or abusing children. In fact, Pippi of the Pippi Longstocking and Lotta of the Lotta series have a strong and firm will and insist on it, and the adults and friends around them accept them, which I think shows her views. However, Lindgren wrote a different kind of book from the bright and cheerful works. Mio, Oh My Mio is one of the famous books like the different books. The main character has a painful situation, and the book depicts his emotions and courage through his adventures. I had read Mio, Oh My Mio when I was in elementary school, but reading it again now, I have a completely different impression of it. Many people have similar impressions of Lindgren's works as I do. Her books have an aspect of being fantastic and interesting to read as a child, and another aspect that makes us feel Lindgren's awareness of problems hidden behind the story. This time, I will consider why the impression changed in viewpoint of written expression and so on, and what causes a unique reading experience for the readers. I use not only Mio, Oh My Mio, but also The Brothers Lionheart. The Brothers Lionheart has features like Mio, Oh My Mio, so I use this book too. Please introduce the story of Mio, Oh My Mio and The Brothers Lionheart. Mio, Oh My Mio is a fantasy novel. The story follows a young boy named Bo Wilhelm Wilson who is an orphan living in Sweden and is often neglected and mistreated by his foster parents. One day, Bo is magically transported to a fantastic land called the Kingdom of Glimmeria, where he is revealed to be the long-lost son of the king. His true name is Mio. In the Kingdom of Glimmeria, Mio embarks on a journey to defeat the evil sorcerer Kato with the help of friends. The story explores themes of identity, bravery, and love as Mio faces challenges and discovers his true destiny. And the main characters of the Brothers Lionheart also have tough situations. The story revolves around the brotherly love between the sickly younger brother Carl, called Cookie, and his older brother Jonathan. Carl is sick and knows that death is near, and his brother Jonathan comforts him by telling him stories about the afterlife, Nangiala. However, it is Jonathan who goes to Nangiala first. Carl eventually follows his brother to Nangiala, but it is not a peaceful paradise, but a world under the rule of the dictator Tengyo. Jonathan rises to save the people of Nangiala, and Carl joins his brother in the adventure. They fight bravely and eventually defeat Tengo, but Jonathan is paralyzed by the fire of the dragon Katra. The story ends with the brother's decision to go further to next world, Nangirima. In Lindgren's best-known books such as Pippi Longstocking, the stories are written from a third-party perspective. On the other hand, Mio, Oh My Mio, and the Brothers Lionheart are written from the first-person perspective of the main character. In the Japanese translation, the story is told in a childlike tone with few kanji. Also, the main character Mio of Mio My Mio does not use many negative words when describing his situation. Even when he is harassed by his adoptive parents, he does not use expressions such as tough or hard, and the story is told in a matter-of-fact tone. In fact, the only negative words he ever said to his adoptive parents were, "I didn't like my aunt because she talked about my father that way." The only negative words he ever said to his adoptive parents were when he was insulted by his father. Because of these elements, when read at a young age, the protagonist's situation is not so memorable and the reader's attention is drawn to the fact that it is an adventure story. In addition, the focus of the Mio Oh My Mio is solely an adventure tale of the main character, who began spending time as Mio in the kingdom of Glymeria, and the heroic way he finds himself and grows through his encounters with friends and family there, and not a questioning of the Mio's current situation. Similarly, in the Brothers Lionheart, the focus is on their adventures in Nangiara, with no mention of the brothers' decision to do what is synonymous with suicide. Therefore, the seriousness of their current situation diminishes, and most children think these stories are just fantasy adventure stories. Another point that differs from the impression I had when I read Mio Oh My Mio as a child is that as I read on, I got the impression that those descriptions of the Mio's time in the kingdom of Glymeria were merely the imagination of Mio. Children tend to perceive imaginary events as real. Imaginary friends are probably the most famous example of this. This is also true for the children who read Mio Oh My Mio who do not question the kingdom of Glymeria, which is another world, and accept it as if it were an actual event. Combined with this effect, when they read the book as children, they are not conscious of the possibility that it is only his imagination, and they read the adventure as if it were real. Now, however, as if situation improves, one begins to feel a disturbing sense that it may be nothing more than imagination, like a little mad girl in Andersen's fairy tales. Now here in the story is it expressed that this was Mio's fantasy or imagination, but it is said that it's reality. The fact that main character is missing in the original world after going to the kingdom of Glymeria also gives a disturbing impression. And the unique reading experience common to Mio Oh My Mio and the Brothers Lionheart is one of the major characteristics of these books. At first impression, the ending seems to be a happy one, but there is still some sense of discomfort and the ending is not the clean one. The same characteristic can be seen in the folklore of Sweden, where Lindgren was born and raised. As an example, I will use the story A Rooster, a Mortar, and a Cloud. This is a story of a rich older brother and a poor younger brother. The younger brother is in a situation where the older brother despises him because of his good-natured personality. In Japanese folk tales and fairy tales, It is standard story. The good-natured younger brother becomes happy at the end of the tale. However, in this story, the younger brother is not happy in the end, and the story ends with the younger brother is forever poor and miserable. I fear that many of the stories in North Europe cannot end with the expression, and they all lived happily ever after. These folk tales may have some influence on Lindgren's story. It is also possible that the original regional tales of the Nordic region also form the basis for the uniqueness of Lindgren's writing. Mio, Oh My Mio, and the Brothers Lionheart reflect Lindgren's own values and the influence she has received, giving us the opportunity to have a different reading experience from other children's literature. From what I have said, you can see the impression Lindgren's books give us of her books and the fact that they are masterpieces that are loved by generations of readers. Child readers find in her books that the excitement of unusual adventure stories, etc., while adult readers find impression and messages different from those in other children's literature. I believe this is because her writing style is soft and child-friendly, yet we can catch a glimpse of her arguments in the background of her writing. If you have read Lindgren's books as a child, read them again. If you have not read them yet, read them now and you will be drawn in by their unique atmosphere. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Hana. Okay. I think you read a good presentation. So how about question or comment? Anyone? Yeah, Katerina, please.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. And Hana-san, I would like to thank you for your detailed and clear presentation. It was very interesting for me to listen to your interpretation and especially to your comparisons with European folklore and Japanese folklore. I appreciate that you mentioned it. So you said there are some Japanese translations. I want to ask, is Astrid Lindgren popular in Japan? Is she well known? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. And Lindgren's book, only Pippi Longstocking is very well known in Japan, but I think Mio, Oh My Mio, or the Brothers Lionheart is not famous in Japan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Katerina, please.
Hello. I just wanted to say thank you for your wonderful presentation. As a child, I really loved reading Pippi Longstocking, and I think it captures the innocence and the beauty of childhood. And as for my question, what moment in Mio My Mio made the biggest impression on you? Thank you.
The biggest impression of Mio's childhood, I think the Mio is so embarrassed to many things, like the friends harder and the relations them. So the envy, his envy emotion is very big impression. Yeah. Thank you.
So Christina, please.
First of all, Hana-san, I want to thank you for such a beautiful presentation, and the topic is close and important to me personally. I have no questions, but you asked about books of Astrid Lindgren that we have written, so I want to share my experience briefly. And I remember how Pippi Longstocking used to be one of my favorite books, and I read it for the first time when I was 6 years old. And then it was just a fun story for me about a positive and slightly rebellious girl. But when I thought about the story later, I noticed many important things: the conflicts between the mass of people and the bright individual, the bright person, and misunderstanding between adults and children. So it's a really important topic, and when we read some stories as children, we may not notice a lot of important things. So it's really important to cover and to reread the stories when we are adult. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christina. So, Aoi, please.
Thank you for your good presentation. I thought it was a good experience to read again the books I read as a child and discover something new. I would like to take another look at my bookshelf and pick up a book I read before. Thank you.
Thank you, Aoi. Okay, so if nobody else asks a question, let me go to the next presenter from Saitama. It is Kanami and Mizuki. So please be ready.
Can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Hello, can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kanami Kobayashi.
My name is Mizuki Ishida.
Thank you very much for coming to our presentation today. Today's main topic is 1984 by George Orwell. I would like to reflect on his life and discuss the characteristics of this work. This is his portrait photo. And here is the outline for this presentation. First, we will provide a synopsis of 1984. Second, we will briefly review the author's life and historical background. Third, I will discuss how his life experiences are reflected in his work. Finally, we will discuss the futuristic nature of his work and art movements. First, there is the synopsis of 1984. The story is set in a totalitarian near future ruled by a party led by Big Brother. The protagonist, Winston Smith, is a party member working for the Tour Ministry's Bureau of Records, whose job is to falsify history. He has long been dissatisfied with the system that enforces perfect obedience. One day he falls in love with Yulia, a lively and beautiful woman. He is drawn to an underground anti-government movement rumored to have been organized by a legendary trader. Next, I would like to discuss the author's life and historical background. This diagram juxtaposes the timeline of George Orwell's life with the timeline of the world at the time. Please compare the two timelines. 1903, he was born in the British India. From 1922 to 1927, he worked as a policeman for the Indian Imperial Police in India. From 1927 to 1936, he lived in Paris, London, and the north of England. From 1936 to 1937, he served in the Spanish Civil War. From 1941 to 1943, he worked at the BBC. From 1947 to 1948, he wrote 1984. 1950, he died on January 21st. This shows that many major events occurred during his lifetime. Then, I would like to discuss the three things about his experiences and their reflection in 1984. The first is about his experience of working for the Indian Imperial Police. He worked as a police officer, but at the same time he had developed a distrust of imperialism. However, he could not express his distrust or criticize imperialism because speech was more controlled at the time than it is today. Since it was dangerous even for someone to find out that he held such ideas, it seems to have become a habit to hide such ideas. In 1984, doublethink appears. This is a way of thinking in which one believes two contradictory things at the same time. It is possible to see his experience as a practice of the simple version of doublethink. The second is the experience of serving in the Spanish Civil War. George Orwell was a socialist, but he rejected the Soviet system under Stalin's dictatorship because he had participated in the Spanish Civil War on the side of the Republic and witnessed the Soviet Communist Party's suppression of non-Stalinist organization and its concealment and falsification of objective facts. He saw the Soviet system under Stalin's dictatorship as a totalitarian regime and realized its threat. But at the same time, he also experienced a situation there that was close to his ideal of a socialist world. In the Spanish militia, a world where everyone was equal and could live like human beings was realized, even for a short time. He said in his book, Homage to Catalonia, that his experience strengthened his hope for socialism and his belief in humanity. The third is his experience of working at the BBC. While working for the BBC, he was part of a section that made later broadcasts to the Indian intelligentsia. This section was set up in response to the German later broadcasts to India, which at the time were aimed at German interest. Here, he realized the importance of information warfare in modern warfare. In addition, the scripts used for radio were under the strict control of the Ministry of Information and had to undergo careful confirmation. When he read something different from the confirmed script, he was forced to stop his live broadcast. This sense of the importance of the mass media and the experience of daily censorship were both greatly reflected in 1984.
Next, I'm going to talk about the futuristic nature of 1984 and art movements. Why 1984 is famous? 1984 is the origin of dystopian novels. Dystopian novels write the world or society which are controlled, suppressed, monitored by the reader. Also, it writes futuristic world which is very similar to the current world, and that makes us feel scary or surprising. In 1984, the big brother, who is the ruler of the society, is watching people through telescreen. Also, the main character, Winston Smith, used automatic typewriter, and foods and drinks are supplied by automatic machine. These are the characteristics of 1984's futuristic nature. But people's lifestyle is really poor. Their foods and products are scarce because of the war. For example, party members eat little food, and party members can't drink and smoke freely. Although they have to put up with this situation, laborers can drink and smoke. It is a strategy of the big brother. He tries to make people lead life without doubt to him. A lot of party members believe him. Also, he has people monitor each other. And when someone does suspicious movement, that person is reported and arrested. Laborers doesn't doubt him because they are satisfied with current life. They are given a lot of amusement and came to be unconscious to politics. It is similar to current our world. Recently, we often use SNS, games, or YouTube. Some people say people feel uneasy that people are immersed to those amusement and wouldn't think for themselves. In 1984, it is said to be bad that laborers, which consist a huge amount of part of society, don't have consciousness to the society's problems. If they stand up, the situation can easily be changed. They have been spoiled. They don't care whether statistics has been changed or not, so they cannot notice that the society is not normal. We have to watch our society, learn them, and unite to stand against evil. One way of uniting people or informing people of what you think is an art. George Orwell wrote Animal Farm to satirize USSR system. He tries to show us dangerousness of excessive communism and totalitarianism by writing these novels. In Japan, also art movements have done. For example, Freedom Aichi to protest to censorship of the government, and able art to improve disabled people's status. These movements evoked a lot of reactions and could spread information about problems. Art has great power to move people's heart and change the situation. That's all. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Kanami. So, if you have any questions or comments, please, Yulia.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you. First of all, I want to say a lot of thanks for such insightful and in-depth exploration of the works of Orwell and his experience, because I guess that it's really important for us Ukrainians, these works of Orwell, especially 1984 and Animal Farm, because it shows our history, yes? He shows how it resonates with our struggles for freedom, truth, and democracy. And it's really important and essential for us that the whole world is exploring these topics and understand how Ukrainians were struggling under Soviet rule. And that's why for us it's a big pleasure that you are interested in it and you're exploring it in such details. And as for me, I really like the idea that you have said that art move our hearts and unite us, and art is a really good tool, yes, to show the world the messages and just to unite us. Thank you so much for such a perfect and fascinating presentation.
Thank you, Yulia. Okay, Sora, please. Sora-san.
Hello. First, thank you for your informative presentation. Your analysis of Orwell's theme was very insightful. It really made me think about the parallels between 1984 and our current society. I have one simple question. What is double think? Can you explain to me?
Double think is a way of thinking. So and to explain concrete that someone have some idea, and that the idea is even if the idea is not good, that someone have the idea and he or she he or she act as if he or she didn't have the idea. I'm sorry, my explanation is
So if you have the opinion about the government is not good. But if you say that, you are arrested. So we have to hide those thinking not to be arrested. And so double is our true opinion and superficial opinion. Those we have to hide our true opinion and show show that falsified opinion. And yeah, so those two thinking is double think.
Thank you. Your answer helped me understand better.
So Haya, please.
Thank you for your great presentation. I know this famous novel, but I have never read it. But when I hear that this novel was created from the author's experience in World War and Civil War and other situations, it affirmed for me that portraying ideas is not the only way to emphasize the importance of peace. Thank you.
Do you hear me? What do I talk about? Do you hear me? Okay. 大丈夫そうですかね? Thank you for the presentation about the George Orwell 1984. And I have one question. That is, I think that in this society, that is same as one of the other way of totalitarianism society, because for example, in Japan, there are many camera which is monitoring to any time and anywhere. So we are always monitored by the many camera in the society. That is same as the university. So I think that in this modern society, many people regards the safety as important than freedom or liberty. So in this society is not same as a Stalinist country or Stalinism society, but in our country and the European, Ukrainian country have the problem that is the same as the monitoring or controlling the problem. So how do you think about the modern or now present totalitarianism problems in this country or in this Japan? How do you think?
I think it's yeah, I think it's partly good that we can use those monitoring systems for good purpose. For example, we can arrest criminals by using those records. But also, if those technologies are used for bad things, it can cause bad influence to our society. For example, like 1984, the government used that for suppressing people and monitoring people. So it teaches us that technologies are useful to protect or secure our daily life, but we have to know about the dangerousness of those technologies. If the user changes, those technologies can be great danger for us. So one solution for this is watching those people who use those technologies, and if he or she use those technologies for bad purpose, we have to stop them. So its problem evoke us that we have to evoke us the idea that we have to notice about our daily happenings or to protect us. Is it okay?
Thank you for
Thank you, Mizuki, for your ideas. Yeah, actually, we have a very highly developed technology. So, is in some cases, the novels resemble the reality. As I remember, the Professor Matevko Bekerska spoke the same thing about Stanislav Lem's novels. Okay, so thank you very much. Okay, so now, so let me ask Olga Nikolaevna to introduce your Poltava students.
I would like to express my gratitude to Japanese students for very interesting and deep presentations. Thank you so much. It was very interesting for me because my doctoral dissertation is devoted to dystopia, and the work Mio or my Mio is reflected in my textbook for the 6th grade for the Ukrainian secondary schools. It was very interesting, and you told me more information about these works and new glance for these works. Thank you so much. And let me introduce the group from Poltava National Pedagogical University. They prepared the presentation about the Ukrainian philosopher and writer Hryhorii Skovoroda. Please, you should start.
Okay. Can you see the screen?
Okay.
Yeah, let's start. Good afternoon, dear professors and dear students. My name is Viktoriia Biedova, and this is Sofiia Marynokha. Our specialty is secondary education, English language and literature. And also with us is Bida and Yulia Kharchenko. Their specialty is journalism. And today we are going to tell you about our unique Ukrainian writer, Hryhorii Skovoroda, and his wonderful fables. In history of every nation, there are people who belong not only to their country, but to the world. They hear and see not only their time in which they live, but the future. They seem to pass through their time and space and understand much more than their generation. They are endowed with a special vision of sense of the world. This is exactly who Hryhorii Skovoroda was. He was a remarkable and individual masterful wordsmith. In today's Ukraine, Hryhorii Skovoroda literary works and ideas are still so popular. His works are studied at school in course of Ukrainian language. In October 2022, during the war, the Poltava-Mykola Art Museum opened an exhibition showcasing artwork inspired by Skovoroda's legacies. This is his artworks, as you see. His works revolve around an ongoing quest of self-discovery, happiness, and inner peace. Skovoroda's ideas resonate deeply with us today in the 21st century because it's not always easy to survive in complicated, often insane world without losing one's humanities. Today, we have to constantly balance between the real and the fake, the eternal and the short-lived, and the authentic and the superficial, the timeless and the fleeting. His lifestyle was quite progressive. He didn't eat meat or fish. He slept for hours a day and got up very early. He traveled on foot a lot. He was strong and healthy, was always cheerful, mobile, happy with everything, kind to everyone, and always ready to help.
The legacy of the philosopher, poet, teacher, and composer Hryhorii Skovoroda is a valuable asset of Ukrainian national and world culture. Skovoroda's teachings on human education and moral development hold exceptional significance, sparkling a profound shift in public thinking about ethical, pedagogical, and social norms. In the village Skovorodenivka, Kharkiv region, named after philosopher, there is a house where Skovoroda spent his last year. In 1972, a literary museum was founded here to honor the writer, the Hryhorii Skovoroda Literary Memorial Museum.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sofiia Marynokha, and now I will take the floor. In May 2022, this building near the city of Kharkiv in eastern Ukraine was nearly destroyed due to a Russian missile attack. The president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, spoke about an attack on the memory of Skovoroda, who taught people what a true Christian attitude to life is and how a person can know themselves. A man was wounded. However, the exhibits of the museum, including numerous manuscripts, were brought into safety in a timely manner. But the statue of Skovoroda survived the attack and was almost not harmed. One of the oldest universities in our country, the Hryhorii Skovoroda Kharkiv National Pedagogical University, is also named after the philosopher. In July, the main building of the university was severely damaged due to a missile attack. The Russian invaders have demonstrated time and time again that they want to destroy Ukrainian culture, Ukrainian language, the freedom and independence of Ukrainians.
This is demonstrated by the daily shelling of his beloved Kharkiv cities and villages of the Kharkiv region, where he loved to travel, with drones, missiles, and guided bombs. As a result of Russian aggression, 340 cultural objects in the Kharkiv region, including the memorial museum named after Hryhorii Skovoroda, have been destroyed or damaged. Only in 2024, the city was shelled 318 times. A lot of destruction, tears, and pain. But Hryhorii Skovoroda always believed that there is beauty and harmony in nature, and there should always be light in the darkness. That is why Ukrainians always keep a light inside them, looking for light in the most difficult times. So I want to share with you a piece of this light and show you how Hryhorii Skovoroda's favorite city lives now. Kharkiv held a special place in her life. For the third time, the city's main Christmas tree is placed at the Universitet metro station, on the ground, in a safe place. And for the first time since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, since 2022, Kharkiv has been decorated for the New Year holidays. And I want to show you this in a video.
Yeah.
afternoon, dear professors and students. My name is Yulia Kharchenko, and I continue our presentation. Poltava was also an important place for the poet. The monument to Hryhorii Skovoroda was planning to establish in Poltava in 2023, but due to the war, they did not have time. Despite the hard time and the war, Ukrainians were finally able to erect a monument in honor of Hryhorii Skovoroda on 25th of December 2024. I had a unique opportunity to attend the opening of the monument as a journalist of Poltava media. For your attention, I offer a photo from the scene of the event, which gathered the citizens of Poltava, the author of monuments, and those for whom the memory of Hryhorii Skovoroda is alive. Visitors had a unique opportunity to hear carols performed by a local culture group, hear more about the legacy of great philosopher, and become part of real Christmas miracle in Poltava.
Skovoroda's fables occupy a prominent place in Skovoroda's work. As early as 1760, while teaching in Kharkiv, he wrote the poetic fable Aesop's Fable. Its essence was that many of these students who were not at all born for this studied.
He made a great contribution to Ukrainian education. Skovoroda developed his theory of education and upbringing when he was teacher at the Pereyaslav Collegium, and when he was a tutor in the home of the landowner Stefan Tomara. While teaching at the Kharkiv Collegium, he depicted his observation and kept building this theory. The philosopher explained his most significant ideas relate to the upbringing of humanity in his works The Grateful Herodios and the Kharkiv Fables.
Kharkiv Fables is a Ukrainian language collection of 30 fables by the Ukrainian philosopher and writer Hryhorii Skovoroda. The Kharkiv Fables were written after Skovoroda left his teaching position for the last time. The first half of the fables was created in 1769 and the second in 1774. Skovoroda wrote his first dozen fables in solitude in forests, fields, gardens, villages, farms lying around Kharkiv. The second half of the fables he wrote in the village of Babai. This is known from the preface to the collection published posthumously in 1837. The collection is dedicated to Skovoroda's friend Panaso Pankov, a collegiate registrar who lived in Ostrogozhsk. Today, we want to tell you about a couple of these fables.
The first fable is The Bee and the Hornet. The author explains that the hornet is a person who lives by stealing from others and only eats and drinks. And the bee is the emblem of a wise man who is engaged in related work. Throughout his life, Skovoroda reflected on the problem of kinship. The meaning of life is to find oneself in creative work for the benefit of others. Using the example of animals, dogs, cats, bugs, etc., the author develops this idea, and there is no happier way to live than to live by nature. He summarizes his thoughts on learning from nature in a quote from Epicurus. I thank the blessed nature for making the necessary easy and the difficult unnecessary. And the whole fable ends with the words of the Apostle Paul, for there is all things in all. Everything in the world has a deep meaning, all in all. And the task of man is to find this meaning first of all in his soul, in his heart, and in everything essential.
And the next fable is The Dog and the Wolf. In the fable, The Dog and the Wolf, the author calls his character by ancient names, as if so to emphasize the importance of the theme. The two dogs, who live in great friendship, gained fame among wild and domestic animals. The wolf, driven by fame, tried to become their third friend. He told the dogs about their noble origins and the fashions he had learned. And in order to attract the dogs to him more, he reminded them that he was similar to them in some way, in voice and hair. He quoted a Latin proverb, God leads like to like. But the dogs do not agree to best friends the wolf, even though he was similar to them in some way, because his heart is farther away. When united, people must be honest, have a unity of heart and a single view. The wolf, on other hand, has a cunning look, slanted, direct at the lamb. The strange refers to the fact that friendship can only be established by a heart that is so in agreement and lonely honesty.
The next fable, Eagle and a Turtle. The turtle tells how his great-grandmother died because she decided to fly. Your wise grandmother didn't die because she flew, but because she took on a job that wasn't her place, the eagle replies. Hryhorii Skovoroda explains his fable. It's not necessary, that is, isn't not useful, and that's why it's hard for a turtle to fly. And the main idea in this fable is they need to live by nature, meaning that everyone should do what they do best.
And the moral, vanity, and desire for pleasure had drawn many people into a natural state. This is all more harmful for them than the higher their status. And not many have been raised by their mother, for example, to philosophy and the angelic life. The image of a turtle is a symbol of a person who is not doing his or her job. The eagle is a symbol of heavenly power, fire, and immortality.
The fable Frogs. All luxury can become poor and dry up like a lake. Only an honest trade will ensure a modest but peaceful existence. How many rich people become beggars every day? In this case, the only salvation is craft. The poorest slaves are born of ancestors who lived in a puddle of great wealth. It's not for nothing that Plato said, all kings are descended from slaves, and all slaves are descended from kings. This happens when the master of everything, time, destroys wealth.
The last fable is a diamond and an emerald. Price and honor are one and the same. The empty flower removes a shiny appearance, removes a semblance of a false diamond and a thief's coin. Education, mercy, generosity, justice, constancy, and chastity, these are our price and honor. An old saying goes, a fool seeks a prominent place, but a wise man can be seen in a corner.
Hryhorii Skovoroda was a visionary philosopher, writer, and educator whose works and ideas have transcended time and continue to resonate in Ukrainian culture and beyond. Known for his wisdom and keen understanding of human nature, Skovoroda's legacy lies in his profound exploration of self-discovery, happiness, and the pursuit of inner peace. Through his teachings, he advocated for a life aligned with one's true nature and values, a concept as relevant in today's complex world as it was in his time. Skovoroda's approach to life was unconventional and forward-thinking. He valued spiritual over material wealth, choosing to live as a traveling philosopher and teacher. This lifestyle enabled him to reach people from all social backgrounds, imparting lessons on moral and ethical values. His fables like The Bee and the Hornet and The Dog and the Wolf use animal characters to illustrate the virtues of integrity, kindness, and authenticity. These tales emphasize that true happiness and friendship are found in honesty, shared purpose, and genuine connections. In Ukraine, Skovoroda's works are not only a cultural treasure, but also an educational staple, with his ideas woven into school curricula. Even amid challenging times such as the war 2022, Ukrainians celebrated his legacy through exhibitions and public works. His teachings, rooted in ancient philosophies and enriched by his own deep insights, continue to inspire resilience, reminding us of the timeless pursuit of meaning and the power of staying true to one's essence. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Vika, Sophia, Anna, and Yulia. Unfortunately, in Japan, Skovoroda is not so very famous so far. But I know some researchers, young researchers, who investigate his works and translate. Yeah. Okay. So, do you have any comments or questions? Yushi, please.
Thank you. Thank you for presentation. And especially I was very surprised that there is a philosopher's museum in the Ukrainian, that Skovoroda's museum exists. In my country, there are very few philosophers museum. For example, I understand there's only one, that is Kitaro Nishida's museum exists in the Ishikawa prefecture. There is only one philosopher's museum in Japan, but in your country, there are many monuments and facilities and a museum about Skovoroda. That is very good thing. And I understand that your presentation leads to he is a representation of the Ukrainian philosophers. So if it was translated in English or Japanese languages, I want to read Skovoroda's subject of fable, which you presented. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your comment. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to say about his very interesting things that he said. As he said, don't look for happiness overseas. It shows how he loved his homeland, Ukraine. He always said very right things, and I think that our generation should listen to his life position, because he really told very interesting and very useful insights. And when we research Skovoroda's biography, I found many interesting sayings. One of my favorites is of all losses, the loss of time is the most severe. He wanted to show us that we should value our life and try to live our life without wasting it on unnecessary things. And he tried to explain very philosophical things using very simple examples. And I think that if you will tell me that I should read it, I will definitely do it, because before it at school we also researched his biography, but not very deeply. And I think that everyone, I think Ukrainians and maybe Japanese students also should try to find some insights in his works, and I think that you will find a lot of things that you will use in your life. And I think that he really good philosopher, and I think that we should follow his insights in our life and in our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. I'm sorry, but we don't have much time. So please let me go to the students from review. So please, Lydia Sensei, introduce your students.
Шановні колеги, сьогодні студенти Львівського університету так само представлять свою доповідь. Ми дякуємо вам за увагу і будемо вдячні за обговорення.
Yeah, dear colleagues, today students of Lviv University in the same way show their presentation, and we thank you for your attention. We would like to have a post-conversation update. Can you see the screen? Yes. So good afternoon, everyone, and we are excited to present literature art of Oscar Wilde, focusing on his masterpiece, The Picture of Dorian Gray. This presentation explores the novel Poetics. Through our research, we aim to highlight the depth and timeless relevance of this iconic work.
Oscar Wilde was an Irish poet and dramatist. He is best known for his only novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray, and his comic masterpieces, Lady Windermere's Fan and The Importance of Being Earnest. Despite many personal difficulties, including a scandalous trial, imprisonment, and a serious illness at the end of his life, Oscar Wilde made a significant contribution to world literature and its development. His timeless works continue to resonate with readers and scholars alike. Oscar Wilde is considered one of the main representatives of aestheticism, an art movement that originated in England in the late 19th century. Aestheticism focused on the belief that art exists only for its beauty and should not serve any political, educational, or other purposes. The movement challenged the values of Victorian culture, as many Victorians believed that literature and art should perform an important ethical function. Now we would like to delve into The Picture of Dorian Gray, a fascinating novel by Oscar Wilde that leaves a lasting impression on everyone who reads it. Once we enter the unique world of The Picture of Dorian Gray, we discover an impressive collection of allusions that help us better understand the characters of the story and their actions. During the period of aestheticism, there was a renewed interest in classical antiquity. In his novel, Oscar Wilde often refers to Greek mythology. One example is the image of Dorian Gray himself, whose story is similar to that of Narcissus. Narcissus is a hunter from Greek mythology who falls in love with his own reflection and eventually dies because of this, turning into a flower. Similarly, Dorian is so fixated on his own portrait that it leads to his moral downfall. Once, in boyish mockery of Narcissus, he had kissed or feigned to kiss those painted lips that now smiled so cruelly at him. This quote highlights Dorian's obsession with the painting and draws parallels with selfish Narcissus. In addition, the actress Sybil Wayne, with whom Dorian is initially in love but then lives, is metaphorically compared to a white Narcissus. She trembled all over and shook like a white Narcissus. This is another allusion to the previously mentioned myth. In the story, a nymph named Echo falls for Narcissus. However, the hunter is so obsessed with himself that he ignores Echo and her feelings for him. In the end, Echo tragically dies of grief, just like Sybil in the novel.
Now, I would be happy to provide you with some symbols and their meanings in the novel. Oscar Wilde is a well-known master of using hidden symbols. In The Picture of Dorian Gray, he made a lot of efforts to decode the most inner parts of human soul. The most important idea of this novel is the interaction of art and real life, which also represents the conflict between aesthetics and ethics. According to Wilde, sin moves our world. Our desires and passions gives us that bright and colorful experience that rules of morality cannot. In this way, the author makes aesthetics higher in position than ethics, as only through art we can get the real pleasure and perfection. But even though art may seem very far from reality, it still mirrors our life. So it depends on us whether a piece will be beautiful or ugly. The most vivid symbol of this idea is the portrait of Dorian. After the magic transformation, it began to reflect not Dorian's appearance, but his soul. For every sin that he committed, a stain would flag and wreck its fairness, but he would not sin. In this way, it also reveals the problem of inner and outer beauty. While Dorian's beauty remains unchanged, the portrait is changing, reflecting the ugliness of Dorian's soul after every sin he committed. That's why he wanted to hide it from others. Another very significant symbol in this novel is the presence of flowers throughout the story. At the beginning, they give the main hero a feeling of relief and symbolize his pure nature. Nothing can cure the soul but the senses. Just nothing can cure the senses but the soul. This says Lord Henry when he saw Dorian smelling flowers in the garden. Flowers also represent the beauty of youth and death, because with time flowers begin to wither and rot. The same with youth and beauty, that start to disappear with age and eventually die. Next symbol is theater. In the novel, it is a place where Dorian can escape the reality and problems of his life. But also it shows that society is dishonest and insincere. As we know, Dorian falls in love with Sybil, or with the role of Juliet she plays. It means he couldn't love her as a real person. By this, the author wanted to say that everyone in the society plays their roles, instead of being a genuine and sincere people. But if the theater is a place where Dorian tried to reach to something good, Opium Den, on the contrary, is a place where he could reveal his real identity, be himself, ugly and dirty. The darkness of Opium Den represents the darkness of Dorian's own soul and mind. Other no less important symbols are Yellow Book and Violin. They represent how Dorian becomes a prisoner of others' opinion. Lord Henry sent a French book written by Huysman to Dorian as a gift after Sybil's death, and when he read this book, it became the sense of his life. For years, Dorian could not free himself from the influence of this book, or he never sought to free himself from it. His soul was corrupted by it, and by the influence of Lord Henry on him. Then, playing the violin is the same as Lord Henry manipulates Dorian Gray. So, using these symbols, Oscar Wilde wanted to show how easily a person can be affected by the society, and how damaging this effect can be.
I would like to proceed with a philosophical concept known as hedonism, which is a key to Oscar Wilde's life and works. So, what is hedonism? At its core, hedonism is the philosophy that prioritizes pleasure and happiness as the highest goals of life. Oscar Wilde's variation, often termed as aesthetic hedonism, emphasizes beauty, art, and sensual experience. As Wilde famously said, pleasure is the only thing one should live for. Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray is a prime example of literary hedonism. Dorian's journey begins with an obsession with youth and beauty, inspired by Lord Henry's philosophy that one should pursue all forms of pleasure. His famous quote is, "The only way to get rid of a temptation is to yield to it. Resist it, and your soul grows sick with longing for the things it has forbidden to itself, with desire for what its monstrous law has made monstrous and unlawful." Lord Henry's advice to Dorian sums up his hedonistic views on temptations of the flesh, which he sees as all good and should be indulged. Oscar Wilde said in his novel, "Believe me, no civilized man ever regrets a pleasure, and no uncivilized man ever knows what a pleasure is." This quote defines the character of Lord Henry, where he makes clear that civilized life is all about the enjoyment of pleasure. In today's world, hedonism is visible in various forms. Consumerism drives a desire for material goods. Shopping trends, seasonal sales, and luxury branding show our need to consume more for just a short period of happiness. Social media makes people obsessed with likes, comments, and validation. Platforms like Instagram celebrate aesthetic perfection and brief moments of pleasure. While hedonism aligns with certain aspects of modern living, it also has significant drawbacks. The environmental cost of consumerism leads to excessive waste, much of which ends up in oceans and other natural habitats. It also demands more raw materials like oil for plastic or trees for paper. This leads to deforestation, mining, which disrupt ecosystems. The shallow connections fostered by social media, where likes and followers replace meaningful relationships, demonstrate how superficial interactions can overshadow genuine human connection. In conclusion, Oscar Wilde's works provide a timeless exploration of hedonism's dangers. Its dual nature, offering both freedom and significant risks, is a valuable lesson for today's society. By reflecting on Wilde's insights and observing the consequences in our modern lives, we can strive for a balanced approach, one that values joy and beauty while remaining mindful of its impact on our environment and relationships.
And I want to proceed with the influence of Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray on contemporary literature and especially Kazuo Ishiguro, Clara, and the Sun. Oscar Wilde, The Picture of Dorian Gray, remains a literary classic that questions the dangers of external perfection masking internal corruption. I have compared The Picture of Dorian Gray with contemporary literature to search for modern senses and found similarity with Kazuo Ishiguro's Clara and the Sun. In general, it is set in a completely different era and deals with artificial intelligence, but the novel includes Wilde's central idea of the split personality, the question of human nature, its change, and the main symbol as a portrait. In Oscar Wilde's novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray, the physical painted portrait is central both symbolically and narratively. It reveals the consequences of Dorian's sins even if his appearance remains flawless. It serves as a warning, reflecting how the public obsession with beauty and youth can overshadow moral responsibility. Kazuo Ishiguro, Clara, and the Sun presents a different type of portrait, related to contemporary questions about technology and identity. The mother of her dying daughter Josie commissions a portrait from the artist to preserve the image of her daughter alive and healthy. The daughter does not even think that beneath the idea of a simple portrait lies a plan to immortalize her memory far beyond the paints, and to create her portrait personally from a physical presence that will live on through her artificial friend Clara. So this plan has a modern and technological echo of Dorian Gray's painting. Both are attempts to cheat the natural process, aging, dying, and moral values. Both portraits serve external containers for the essence of a person, while revealing and obscuring deeper truth. By comparing the key role played by the portrait in both works, we can see how Wilde's idea of the split personality resonates again in Ishiguro's futuristic environment, where the main character Josie is planned to live forever through a portrait, which will be the essence of the robot Clara, as Dorian, who remains beautiful and young thanks to the portrait. So Wilde and Ishiguro warn that if we put too much trust in the image, we risk losing sight of what makes us truly human. Ishiguro renews Wilde's cautionary message for 21st century. When we treat identity as something that can be engineered, copied, or locked away in a portrait, whether literal or figurative, we risk losing the very humanity we thought to immortalize. Both Oscar Wilde and Ishiguro pose a basic question to readers. What makes a human a human? So how would you answer this question? Or what other questions do authors ask us through their work? So please feel free to answer on the chat or directly to us. And thank you for your attention. We are waiting for your questions.
Thank you very much, Olena, Yulia, Olia, and Yevheniia. Yeah, wonderful presentation. So, who has any comments or questions? Dorian Gray is very popular in Japan too. In what? No. So Christina, please.
I want to thank you for such a beautiful presentation, and it was very interesting, and I'm personally fond of this book, The Portrait of Dorian Gray. And I have a question. And do you think that the film fully shows all the important, all the issues of the novel, of the story, of the book?
Yes, I can answer the question. Yes, thank you so much for your feedback and for the question. I guess as we can see all the films as another part and another piece of art, we can define the film and the interpretation in another way. Yes, the film could show the consequence of such life in really full and good picture, but it couldn't cover the all themes and important ideas that are in depth in this novel, because novel is really insightful and full of ideas that is really topical and relevant to our modern life. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I think your comparison between Oscar Wilde and Kazuo Ishida is splendid. Especially you mentioned the idea of a split personality. Yeah? Split personality is a very interesting notion because it has a problem of responsibility. If your personality is split, you don't have to take responsibility, some people think. But I think responsibility is what a human being, only human beings can do. Artificial intelligence cannot take responsibilities for its decision. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. So I'm sorry, but we are running out of time. So I would like to ask the professors to give comments. Olga Nikolaevna.
I sincerely thank all the students for their excellent presentations and fruitful discussions. We all had an aesthetic enjoyment. You have shown us that the golden classics can be very modern. They can be part of our lives and give impetus to our thoughts and feelings. And now I would like to say many thanks to professors for the organizing of our seminars. Let's continue our discussions at the round table. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Olia. So, Lydia-san, please.
Шановні колеги, ми сьогодні почули в заключній доповіді про те, що література дає сигнал чи послання наступним поколінням. Тому я вважаю дуже важливим є те, що ми сьогодні почули доповіді про таких різних письменників, які об'єднують нас спільною мрією, тим, що ми хочемо передати наступним поколінням 21-го століття.
Yes, dear colleagues, today we heard that literature is a signal for another generation, and I think that it's really important that we today heard different writers that unite us with the same dream that we want to deliver the next generation, 21st century, all the messages that we today have heard.
Дякую шановному професору Сусуму Нонакаса, шановній Ользі Миколаївні, і велика вдячність усім студентам, які підготували настільки змістовні, багаті, цікаві і проблемні доповіді. І бажаю успіху в нашому заключному семінарі дискусії.
Yes, first of all, many thanks to dear Susumu Nonaka-san and dear Professor Olga Mykolaivna and all the students that have prepared such a fruitful, productive, and very fascinating presentation. And I wish you luck for our next discussion. And thank you so much for such insightful seminars.
Thank you very much, Lydia-san. Yeah. As for me, it is a bit surprising that we have already done 5 sessions of this seminar. And next week, we will have the last sixth session. So, and it is a round table. So all 90 minutes for free discussion. And it is you who will chair. So we expect you to discuss what interests you more and more freely. Okay, so goodbye now. Please have a nice day and evening. So do побачення і sayonara.
До побачення. Have a nice day.
До побачення.
До побачення.
До побачення.